Every family has a story, and today's is a story of reunification, growth, and hope. Lee Crouch knows the child protection system from the inside out, not as a professional, but as a father who refused to give up. His story is one of loss, love, and powerful reconnection, and it's changing the conversation around parental advocacy. If you are caring for someone else, whether paid or unpaid, and no matter how many hours you do it, did you realise that you may be missing out on thousands of pounds of discounts for things that you may use every day? The Able to Care podcast is proud to be sponsored by the UK's #1 carers card. Started by two best friends who recognise that carers deserve better and are 100% committed to helping to change the lives of all carers and bringing them together as a strong community. Carers Card UK provides support, recognition and rewards. It offers reassurance by providing an ID card that helps access emergency information when needed, while also unlocking discounts, a wellbeing hub, a carers circle tool and a community through their app. All of this for less than the price of a box of chocolates a year. There are discounts on gym membership, days out, electrical goods, clothing and even glasses. Let others know you care while taking a little care of yourself with an ID card you can be proud of. Visit carerscarduk.co.uk/promo code/able to care today to order yours. Hello and welcome back to the Able to Care podcast. I'm your host, Andy Baker, and today's conversation is about parental advocacy, the child protection system, and the power of hope. But most importantly, it's about a father's love. My guest, Lee Crouch, a passionate and experienced advocate who brings not just theory, but lived reality into everything he does. His book, Lee's Journey, is moving, sometimes heartbreaking, and ultimately uplifting story of struggle, growth, and family unity. Lee has sat in courtrooms, faced judgment, engaged in deep personal change, and now uses that experience to fight for others. Through storytelling, speaking, and social media advocacy, he's helping us to shift narratives around what it means to be a parent in crisis and how systems can either support or sabotage the possibility of healing. So whether you're a parent, foster carer, social worker, or simply someone who believes in second chances, this episode offers a powerful reminder that growth is real, reunification is possible, and no family should be given up on too soon. So Lee, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I feel very honoured because I know I was the first copy of the book that you ever signed, and I ended up reading it on the train on the way home. I read the whole book, so it was only it's not a huge book, is it? It's an hour and 15, but I just couldn't stop reading it on the journey. Really enjoyed hearing your journey. Obviously, it was a reminder of the talk that when I first met you, that you did in front of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a very big book. It's like I've got 80 pages, I think. So
yeah, nice, easy, digestible, but also can't put it down. So for those who haven't read your book yet, please tell us, where does your story begin, and what was the moment you knew that things had to change?
Beginning of the book sort of begins from ultimately having a judgment against you and having your children removed in the courtroom. So it's a very dark, almost like a prison sentence being issued to you, and your whole life sort of flashes between your eyes as well as being ripped away from you straight away. So I suppose it was walking out of that courtroom that day and thinking, I've lost absolutely everything that I promised myself I'd never lose. Like, if we can grow through life, and then there's nothing anyone, like, if you lose things all the time, but when you lose family or children, like, it's almost like having a grief of its own kind. So I walked out of that room that day and thought, we need to fight. We need to do everything we can to fight this.
Do you think you've come across a stigma with many people? Obviously, your children end up in care. Do you think there's a bit of a stigma towards parents where their children do end up, that it must be parents who don't love their children, which is why children end up in care?
I mean, that's always a really good question and a really difficult one. I believe there's probably children out there that unfortunately have had that experience, which isn't great. I'm under no illusion of that. I mean, one thing, okay, even through the court and everything in mine and my partner's case was the one thing that was always mentioned is that we do love our children. So it was clear that we loved our children. We just made mistakes. I suppose the stigma for us is we was going through court. They give you these like tick boxes and checklists that you have to go through, and we'd already completed all of them, but it still wasn't good enough. So the stigma for us is you're asking us to do all this stuff, we've done it, and then we were basically told it was too little too late. So it was kind of, why did you make me do that in the first place? Does that make any sense?
It does. One of the things that really impacted me from your book actually was this: once you'd kind of got that label, it felt like it wasn't innocent till proven guilty. It felt like you had to shed the kind of the coat of guilt, so to speak, but didn't seem to be much opportunity, from what I could gather from your story, to really express that, to really show that. It was just kind of like you were doing everything you were meant to do, but nobody seemed to be acknowledging, recognizing, or moving in a direction to kind of acknowledge that.
Yeah, and that kind of sort of spilled out into the post proceedings as well. It was like, no matter what we did, no matter how much work we did on ourselves to change wherever the areas they were concerned about, us as people, it was already finalized. We were already a case file. Our lives were reduced to bullet points. I think I've used that reference a few times, and that's quite the only explanation for it. And when you're trying to fight a system that's already made its mind up, it's very, very difficult. It takes a lot of persistence, and like you say, that cloak of guilt as well. We're trying to fight this, like we're blaming ourselves. Our children have been removed from us. Ultimately, we have our own accountability from our mistakes we made. There was also mistakes that were being made by the local authority at the time that were overlooked. And it wasn't until years later, when I'd actually produced evidence to show what was overlooked, we was listened to. And it was just a backwards and forwards cat and mouse game. And in the middle of all of this, you're still trying to hold it together. You're still trying to see your children in contact. You're trying to make that contact natural. We're in the most unnatural environment, and you're trying to, we were taking things from home to try and make them connect a bit more. And you're trying to do all of that as well as fight. And it's not an easy road to fight.
No. And there's so much to the emotional journey, as obviously, you must have been going through a tough time originally, to have, been struggling to, as social services seen it, as to be able to look after your children in the way that they seemed appropriate, but then have them removed. That's not going to be a sudden mood lifter and a booster to kind of go, yeah, that's it. We can get things sorted now, and everything will be okay. I should imagine it caused a deterioration before it then got an opportunity to see any chance for growth.
It was. I mean, I think initially when the judgment was given to us, and we kind of knew that finality and permanence of it, it was really, really, all I can describe as a dark time for me and my partner. We almost fell to pieces and fell apart. I mean, we both angry with each other for different reasons, and rightly so. We was both angry with each other. But luckily, that only really lasted 2 or 3 weeks, a month at most. And we sat together. So all the time we're chewing each other. We're not doing what we need to be doing, and our children are slipping further away from us as possible. By this point, they'd already been separated. We was promised that they would keep them together, but then 2 of them were moved to West Sussex, and 2 of them were moved to the other side of Kent. And it wasn't just inside Kent; it was all the way over near the Isle of Sheppey. So, like, there's a big distance between them. So we kind of come to, look, we're going to stop fighting each other. And in all fairness, since that day, we have never had an argument.
Yeah. Yeah, it suddenly became the team against the kind of as you perceived it, the system, or however you want to kind of refer to it a little bit. So that pulled you together in that moment. But that must be terrifying to kind of then find out. It sounds from that, I think I'd feel a little bit like they're being pulled further away from us when they're being moved to different locations. It almost makes it maybe feel more final, did you think?
Yeah, it finalized. And what I think not so much final. It was never final for us. It was made it more of a reality. So like, this is really happening, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's out of our control. Like, but we can do something about it if we do it the right way. I mean, it's literally to have them separated that far away, and they wasn't even seeing each other very often. And it was, these were children, and us as a family, we spent 24/7 next to each other through the thick and the thin all the time. We had problems. The house was chaotic. It was messy sometimes. Me and Lisa was up and down, but the children always knew that anything they wanted, they had. There was always loved. And all of a sudden, they're in strangers' homes. One of them was being passed from pillar to post. 3 of them were a bit more stable, and we had to hold it together. We had to be that anchor and at the end of it to keep it where it was and work our way back up again.
Did you find it hard? Obviously, going through that journey, maybe obviously you were going through a tough time, which resulted in this action. Was it hard to kind of transition over into an acceptance of that I need to change, or I need to grow, or we've got to do something internally to change this? Or was there an instinct in a way to kind of push the blame away and kind of blame the system, blame everybody else? Was there a struggle at any point for that?
I think there was, but it wasn't after the children had been removed. It was during everything. So there was, it wasn't so much blaming anybody really. Like there was definitely that. I think every parent has that, like that they have a bit of sort of enclosed anger towards the system. These people are trying to take your children away. We had the section delivered to us and everything, and all the way through that. But our actual light bulb moment of change was already during those proceedings, and when we had the things, we renovated the house, we changed everything. We were doing everything they wanted to do, bar a couple of little bits because we'd run out of time. They ended up putting an injunction on me, so I couldn't go to the house. And I thought, well, you want these things done. There's no risk there, and there's no evidence to say that there's a risk for me being at the house. It never has been, and never will be. It kind of looked like it was a tactical war move to keep me away, because I was the one that was doing all that stuff. Lisa was struggling with illness anyway. So, I mean, there was definitely some blame at the beginning, but wasn't really directly at the system. It was the process that we was blaming, rather than, and I think that's mainly because we've just been issued a proceedings order before care. So we'd gone into panic mode. We wasn't blaming each other. We wasn't blaming the social services. We wasn't blaming local authorities. We was blaming the whole situation rather than actually looking for accountability. We'd already done the accountability during that, because to get to court and give them evidence of all the things they wanted us to do was already accountability on our part. We're saying, we hold our hands up. We know where we went wrong. We've addressed it. Why are you not listening now?
Yeah, that must be so frustrating. So you've written very openly in the book about your pain and the transformation that you feel you went through as well. You spoke specifically around kind of better understanding your emotions and better, for instance. What would you say was the hardest part of that journey for you to put into words?
I think that the hardest part of it was actually realizing within myself that there isn't actually something wrong with me. It's the way I was doing things that was wrong. I mean, I've always held my emotions in. I don't now. I'm very emotional because I've held them in so long. But I always used to, I don't know, I think it's an old fashioned kind of thing. Some dads or men in general think like, can't show your emotions. It's a sign of weakness and it makes you weak. But I quickly learned that I needed to, if I'm projecting this way to people, then I need to go out there and try and find a way of talking to people. That's when Swift helped me a lot, which is in my book. He gave me tools I didn't even think I needed. And that's just simply to talk. If I'd come home from a bad day at work and I see my partner was struggling, I wouldn't tell her about my troubles because I was too worried about her troubles and how the children were doing. And over a space of a few years a number of years, it builds up like armor inside you. And you think it's an armor, but it's not actually. It's not protecting you from anything. What I did there was run into an emotional war with no armor at all because it was just sinking in. And the more it sank in, and that was my biggest sort of like the emotional side, and being able to talk and being able to sit down with somebody you don't know, that doesn't know the situation at all, or doesn't know you, to actually get that out of you. It was amazing for me.
I think it's, you referred to there, and I've spoken to it openly in the past as well. Obviously, I had some challenges with my mental health in the past, that sometimes there's this perception. I think I grew up in the same way, like being sensitive is considered to be weak, whereas being angry is okay. And sometimes it's much easier to turn tears into anger than it is to actually cope and sit with the tears.
It's easy to clench your fists, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. And society accepts it. And I think it takes an awful lot to kind of recognize that vulnerability isn't weakness, and kind of backtrack. Yeah, absolutely. It shows courage to be vulnerable rather than weakness to be vulnerable. And I think that's hopefully that message is getting out to more and more out there. But it sounds like that was a journey that you had to go through this process. So do you feel it's like, as much as we'd all hope never to go through the struggles to get to where we are now, it'd be much nicer if we could just click our fingers and be where we are, rather than going, well, did I have to go through all that shit? couldn't have just somebody told me? Do you feel you've come out on the other side of things in a way, like in a better place for yourself personally in some ways?
I think I've come out in a better place in every way possible. I am literally a completely different person to what I was 10 years ago. I don't think there's a word for it. Like my ambition, my drive, my acknowledgement to emotions, and the potential to see other people's emotions before they or recognize somebody's struggling and say, hold up a minute, I was in that position. You don't want to go down that road. It's dark. You talk to somebody, and I've sometimes even just walking up to someone and saying, "How are you today?" is enough just to switch it around. So I think it's literally one of the biggest things that for me personally, I keep a picture on my phone and I show some people it. Normally, if they don't believe what I'm saying, and I say this is me 10 years ago, I looked like I was almost laying in a freezer. I was so skinny, eyes were sunk in, and really didn't look healthy at all. And it all come from accountability, not holding my emotions in, not having some kind of protective armor within yourself that you're doing the right thing. And all of these things are okay, because that's what you've either picked up through society, because that's what you're led to believe. It can be genetic. So you can have that, like you can be brought up in an old-fashioned way because again, in society that happens. It's just, for me, that's the way it works for me.
Yeah. It sounds like you had to lose everything to gain a huge level of humility and empathy for others at that point. So
yeah, I think I've said to people when they're playing times in the past, sometimes people like they had a life like I did, or a background of growing up like that, you need to hit rock bottom to be able to come back up. I wish that I hit rock bottom in a different way. I don't regret hitting rock bottom, because it made me who I am today, which is I'm now proud of who I see looking back at me. And I wouldn't have said that years ago. I would have been because I would have been arrogant and looking at it the wrong way and very ignorant to things.
Yeah, which is a huge testament to growth, isn't it? Now, in your book, one of the things I did pick up on, and it was really nice, because I think I kind of almost expected. Obviously, I'd heard you speak, and I think if I was going to put kind of parental advocacy and stuff, then especially hearing the initial part of your story, your children being taken away from you, that it would have been overall negative on the system. But actually, there was so much positivity in there towards some of the people that were part of your journey back to reunification. So what do you wish, as far as the people you came across, what do you wish social workers, foster carers and legal professionals better understood about parents going through the system?
I think there's a lot involves in which part of the team you get as well. I think when you've got the child protection team, and then you have like the looked after children team and the looked after children team, it felt like once we was in that sort of sector, it seemed to be a lot more it wasn't, although that there's safeguarding and everything involved, it was a lot more lenient because it was being safeguarded by the local authority. But when we was going through the child protection side of it, I wish that there was a lot more I'm not going to say humility, because they are human and they're there for a reason. I just wish somebody come and found why we fell in the river rather than trying to pick us up when we're already halfway down it. Because essentially you don't know these people. They're coming in, they're trying to tell you, they're trying to give you advice, or as it looks, trying to tell you how to bring up your children, but you're already drowning. So from the local authorities' perspective, they're trying to put their hands in and pull you out and offer you help. But in reality, they're putting their hands on top of your head, pushing you deeper. If somebody had taken the time to go back and find why did this family actually fall into the river first? Let's go back and unpick it all. Like, go back right to the beginning and then address that. I mean, it's there were so many people during that journey that helped us out, that gave us. We'd never had a voice. I think the IROs were so important. They're the ones that I mean, a lot of people mistake them as well. I did myself, thinking anybody that works with children's services is involved in them, and they are 100% correct. But what I will say to parents out there is if you're doing what you should be doing and you're doing the right thing and you're not being listened to, the IROs will give you a voice. They will be that voice for you. They will say this is not okay and this needs to change. And you just need somebody on your shoulder, like a good and bad conscience, and they work really well like that.
Yeah, you were very complimentary. I think you had two different
We were lucky
ROs.
enough to have two, yeah. I'm still in touch with both of them now.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it did seem like they kind of helped you through that journey. They were your voice. They kind of like, they're I think you put down, there's a section where you actually, for each of the children, you say how they helped you to make one of your child be seen, one be heard, one come home, and things like that. It was quite a moving moment in the book that I was kind of, as I was going through it.
Yeah, and that's because we wasn't looked at as a file. They looked at each of us, myself, my partner, and each one of the children as people and their own personalities and their own charisma, and took the time to work us out.
Do you mind speaking a little bit? Obviously, in the talks that you did, you went into a little bit of detail about the journey that each of your children went through as well, and some the good, the bad, and the ugly a little bit. And there was some of that stuff that, I mean, yeah, you had tears welling in my eyes in certain bits and those. So it's you've got 4 children. Yes, I think I've written the names down as far as Summer, Caden, Leighton, and Sky. So what ages were they all when they went into care?
So Caden was 3.
Right.
Summer was 5. Leighton was 10, and Sky was just about to turn 7.
Right, so quite a broad spectrum there, and obviously Caden very young at that point. So he was the youngest in there, was he? Did you say?
Yeah, he was the youngest. He also had the worst journey as well. Bless him.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of touch on that specifically, actually, because that was one of the things that I found really quite emotive and moving within your.
I struggled to speak about that.
Yeah, I could tell you did, and if you don't feel comfortable, it's completely fine. But so I know that obviously. They were all taken into foster care to start off with. Tell me a little bit about, because the first child I think you speak about specifically, is it Summer? Her journey, I think, in the book that you speak about first? Or is it...
The first ones I speak about is Sky and Leighton in the book.
Right.
So, and then I had to do it quite kind of tactfully. I didn't want it to come out to see I didn't want to end it on like an attack. So I had to put some are getting them mixed up now. Leighton and Sky's. Their journey was stable all the way through. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They had the same foster parents, pretty much.
Yeah, they had the same foster from the whole time. Caden in the middle, his was awful, and then Summer also had the same foster care for most of the time as well. So, and what I was trying to do with my talk is show the difference between stability and the co-parenting when it's allowed, and what happens when it doesn't.
That's one of the important messages, and I found that really, really positive, both from the book and from your talk, actually, that you spoke quite fondly of some of the foster parents and how you had built sort of co-parenting kind of relationships where it was you're both coming from the same place. I think it's so often in the system generally, and this isn't just between parents and foster parents, this is even social workers to foster parents as well. Sometimes there's a battle because even though both parties are looking for the best interests of the children, they're seeing it from different sides of the coin. So they sometimes just can't see each other's points of view, but they are working towards that same goal. So did you feel when you first sort of entered this journey, did you expect a kind of a distance or a difficulty? What was your expectations of what foster parents were like?
I think at first, it's the unknown for us. It's never happened to us before. And these are strange people to us. And all of a sudden they've got our children. So the feeling wasn't great. Almost a little bit of resentment, like we're supposed to think that you can have our children just because a piece of paper says you're safe. We're all adults. We all hear the news. We all see things. That isn't the case sometimes. And we all know this. And having to come to terms with that yourself it's not easy. I think just over persistence and over a few years of just small conversation, and you can tell. I mean, there are children where our defences are up massively high, and you can tell people's intentions by the way they interact with you as a parent. Like some foster carers will see you as a problem, and others would like they don't care what happens or what it says on the paperwork. Like they've got a connection with the children. There are children, so that there's a connection there. These are the people that are key to be where they are and doing it. But at first, no, there was no it was a lot of resentment. Like, why should I be happy with these people? They've got my children. Like, they're singing them songs at night. They're rubbing their wounds, and they're watching them go through life where their favourite foods change and their colour changes and how they're growing up. They don't like dinosaurs anymore. They want something else. Like, that's our job.
Yeah. I think there's always something related to, obviously, things like parental responsibilities and things like that, the negotiation on those, that there must be foster parents out there that it is hard for them as well, where it's a case of they're just trying to create their insular family and kind of go, like, trying to do their best and trying to get a routine and structure and stuff like that. And
they have their own families, don't they?
Absolutely. They have their own idea of values of how these children should or shouldn't be raised, which may differ from the views of the parents. And I think that's always a difficult dynamic to be able to negotiate. So what do you feel both you were able to do, because this is a two-way process, isn't it, that you were able to do as parents, but also maybe what the foster parents did as well that you found worked for you as a family?
I think for us as a family, it was just consistency. At the beginning, they was probably as wary as us as we was as them. But after a couple of years, consistency is key. Always showing up, never late, never missed in contact. It was always about the children, or if we met eyes when they're dropping the kids off, we're always asking questions like, how are they doing? Like, do they still like this? Do they still do this? And do they still that? And gradually over time, people seem to thinking like, well, we may have made mistakes, but they obviously love our children, and they love ours back. And this is what, and so it works on, but just through consistency, honesty, transparency, and it's not a fight, it's not a challenge.
Yeah, that must be quite a journey to get to that point, though.
It takes a while. I mean, it wasn't done overnight, and it was just literally done by those small moves. It was a short conversation, a quick hello, sharing birthdays, and asking what they're getting, them asking them what we're getting, and without even realizing, you build up which what the system doesn't like, and that is co-parenting with them, and it does work. And but like with Caden, we never had that opportunity, and I think, I mean, I didn't have time to talk about it on my talk, and that's because because the relationships was going well with Summer, and she was settled with her foster carers, and it was going well with the Leighton and Sky's foster carers, there wasn't really too many pushbacks, like as far as the integration kind of thing. But when it come down to Caden's, and I can't help thinking sometimes it was almost like because the system didn't know what to do. So we was always pushed away. We wasn't allowed to meet the carers. Every time it changed, we was asked if we wanted to meet them, which we always agreed to. It was like an hour. And then that was it. We'd never see them again because there was either they wasn't bringing them to contact or taking them off and things. And we never had the opportunity to build up any kind of bridge or relationship with them. And I don't know if that's because it was just because of Caden's journey, or it's almost because of the safeguarding and the amount of things that were going around. They didn't want us to. But I think like everyone, to him, everyone was giving up on him, and that's what I was shouting, and that's why I kept shouting, not physically, but I wanted to.
Have you ever encountered an adult or child's behaviour that has felt difficult, overwhelming, or challenging? Have you sometimes felt at a loss of what to do, or know that you didn't handle it quite right? People are complex and unpredictable, and their behaviour can be like the weather. We've all made the mistake of looking out the window and feeling safe to wear shorts, but 5 minutes later wishing for an umbrella. But what if, like a weatherman, you understood how humidity, temperature and pressure all come together to cause the weather, allowing you to better prepare, predict and respond, and prevent ever having a picnic ruined by a thunderstorm ever again? My book, called Targeting the Positive with Behaviours that Challenge, helps you to become the weatherman of behaviour. It provides you with a toolkit to increase competency, confidence, resilience and empathy, so you feel more assured about how to respond to distressed or dysregulated behaviours in others, including those affected by trauma, mental health, neurodiversity, learning disabilities or dementia. Build better connections, achieve de-escalation and improve outcomes for yourself and those you engage with my celebrated 6-stage target model, a step-by-step process to reduce distress for everyone. Discover my empowering, person-centered guide in Targeting the Positive, written by me, Andy Baker, available from online bookstores worldwide. Find a link in the description and order today.
So, Leighton and Sky were with one foster family. Was it purely just logistics where the children were separated initially? They couldn't find a family that would take all 4 of the children. Was that
That's
the
what we were told? Yeah, that's what we were told.
So were then the 2 other children, Summer and Caden, both split up immediately, or were they together initially?
No, they was together initially. They went to a foster placement not too far from us, but there was some kind of breakdown within that placement, and then Summer and Caden were separated.
Right. Did Summer stay with the same family and Caden get
moved on?
No,
they both moved to different families.
Right, okay.
Summer moved to where she stayed for the next 5 years.
Right.
And then Caden bounced all over Kent.
Yes. Yeah. I think, I can't remember whether you said in the book, how many homes did he have?
He had 6 foster homes in 5 years.
Which is just so
he
unsettling.
went from the age of 3 to the age of 8. Literally not knowing who he was, feeling unwanted, and feeling like I mean, can you imagine being 8 years old and having to think, well, why do these people keep giving up on me?
Yeah, and I think it's so hard for adults sometimes to really put themselves in the mind of the child that he's not going to be going, they're struggling. It's because they can't cope. It's nothing personal. It's just I need a bit more support. It's just
he's going because they don't love me and want me.
Yeah, I must be bad. I must be unlovable. I must be unworthy. And that journey that he's going through on that must have felt. Did you see that from a parent on the outside? You said you were kind of shouting it, but how did you notice that in him? Just purely because he was being moved, or could you tell when you were getting to see him at all?
We knew every time we see him. Like your children. Like he was broken. Like he was smiling, but it was a broken smile, and he's just everything inside him was shattered to pieces. He didn't know who he was. He kept saying all he wanted to do was come home, and they'd give him another home. And he'd ask us every time, every contact, when can I come home? When can I come home? We ended up telling him, like, Mummy and Daddy ain't very well at the moment. And instead of thinking, no, but we shouldn't have to lie to our child when we really, like, we want to be telling him the truth. He's asking questions. It was like, how comes Leighton and Sky don't move like I move? How comes Summer don't move like I move? Like, what's wrong with me? And you're trying to hold down a contact and trying to keep it like, and he's having fun. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to paint this as like it's some black and white grainy horror movie all the time, because our contact sessions with him were fun. But 9 times out of 10, we left our contacts with Caden feeling more broken than when we went there. And that's because we can see him deteriorating. I don't know if those pictures aren't in the book. Well, that's why I made a point of putting the 2 pictures on my talk. There's a picture of me and Caden on the train, and a picture of him holding a lizard. And I've said to people, there's only 19 months between those 2 pictures, but you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. They were impactful, massively so. You must have explored it a lot of what went wrong in the system for Caden. Have you kind of explored that? Have you come up with any answers of what went wrong for him?
I think it's just there wasn't enough stability for him, and he's complex, and he was. I don't know. I'm talking about like it's a shop. He was offered out like a normal child. But he's not. He's very complex. He's very emotional. He's always been emotional anyway, and he was always attached to Lisa. He was a premature baby. He spent his first 6 weeks in a special care baby unit, and there was a lot of things in the background that I think paved the way for him. And he's never really been in it. Like, he's very emotional, but he's never really, he shows it by expressing in ways he shouldn't do.
He's what I class as a highly sensitive child, which means that, and he come across as highly reactive, and he's acting out. And if families don't understand that, or they can't manage it for whatever reason, and they're going to reject him.
Exactly. I mean, this is why the IRO is important. She was the first person that see his behaviour and think, this isn't a naughty child. This is a child that's had enough. Like he's screaming out for help and no one's giving it to him. I mean, he was given up on 4 weeks before Christmas and moved to another place. No time to react, no time to prepare himself, no one to explain nothing to him, no one to try and like wrap it in cotton wool for him. And it repeatedly happened at least once a year. He didn't want to talk, would you?
No, absolutely.
I'm an adult and I wouldn't want to speak to somebody giving up on me that much. And in some respects, the system, this is why I said it has to take accountability. And this is part of what I was trying to explain with the ROs and the case manager at the time. I was like, he is in your care now. We have no influence on where he's going and where he's being placed. So the way he's acting out now and the way he's behaving and the way he's being the way he is, I'm sorry, but you need to be accountable for that. We was accountable for our mistakes and we held our hands up. You as a system now need to put your hands up and say, this isn't working for this child. What's the best way forward? And I think the very, very last placement he had, and I was quite stern and I was quite abrupt with the case manager. And I said to her, if you're going to keep taking risks with my child, why don't you take a risk with the people that actually want him?
Well, that's what it feels like. Yeah, the system can take a child away from you when they deem, for whatever reasons, unsafe. But then you can't take the child back going, but you're worse. This is unsafe for him too. So
the system's done him more damage than it has the others. I'm not saying that the system's bad because the others have come out thriving. Yeah. What I'm trying to say is there are situations out there when the system itself is a safeguarding issue. It shouldn't have took 6 years of behaviour like that. And ultimately, the last placement, he set fire to someone's house.
Yeah.
But when we was reading the incident report, he set fire to someone's house, screaming, "I want to go home." That for me was the bottom line, and it should have been for anyone. As I say, we need to relook at this and reevaluate it.
And that's it. There is this sometimes, there's many kids out there that sometimes are acting out because they just go, the only way I'm going to be able to get home is to behave at my worst, kind of thing.
And I don't want them to do that.
No, absolutely. Well, that's it. It becomes a perpetual cycle, 100%. It sounds like there's a couple of bits in there, and one of the things I often speak about is that, you mentioned it beautifully, and I've heard the analogy before of they were trying to kind of pick you up out of the water rather than looking at what caused you to be in the water in the first place. And actually they're resulting in you ducking you further down. But it sounds like exactly the same for Caden as well. They were constantly kind of just trying to pull him out of the water and pull something else. They weren't kind of looking at the causation, the problems, going deeper into it. And it's all fighting fires. Do you think if, some of the foster parents had better support and better, earlier intervention, then there could have been a better stability? On the flip side, maybe if you'd had better support earlier on as well, do you think none of this would have ever had to have happened?
I do. I think if there was like some early steps, things. I mean, for me and my partner, when we were first offered early help, it was after we lost one of our children, and it was like no parent should have to lose a child. And I was just trying to hold the family together and being the emotional block that I was anyway. I wasn't showing emotion. I was thinking, shit, my family's falling apart. Well, I need to hold them up. And that was the point where we fell in. But local authority got involved years after that, instead of going back to find out. They're thinking that I never grieved, never had counselling, never had any help. I thought what I was doing was the right thing, and if they did. And it's a similar situation with Caden. So the whole logistics, even when we left the court, there was no plan. So like it wasn't done carefully. There was no structure. I mean, literally, that very evening, when that moment come round, Caden was pulled from his mum's arms, screaming. Now, I've had people's and they will do listening to this. People have different opinions, so they always say that children don't really remember things like that. And I say, if it's something traumatic like that, he's a 3-year-old, and the only thing he remembers, the first thing he remembers from local authority is being ripped away from his mum's arms, screaming for his mum, all the way down to the car, put in a car, which to him probably sounded like a cell door being slammed because he was kicking off, and then driven away. And then the first time we see him again was like 3 weeks afterwards. So for a 3-year-old, he's always been a mummy's boy. And he was chimping his mum. They had to physically, because the more they tried to pull him away from her, the tighter he was holding. And when I say to you, he was ripped from her arms, it wasn't her trying to fight it. That's exactly what happened. It was him, and he was physically pulled away from his mum. I was told I weren't even allowed to be there to say goodbye. And so that sticks into their mind. I already see that coming prior to from what was happening in the proceedings. They'd already put an injunction on me, like I said earlier. And me and my arrogant self back then, the children weren't at school that day. They was with one of my friends. I was going to say goodbye to my children no matter who was going to stop me. And then we had a phone call saying where are the children? I said, well, they're at a friend's house, and this is the time you can come round, and this is the time you can take them. You're doing it our way. You had no structure, and you're not going to do it like that. You're not. They was going to turn up to school. That should never happen. Everyone should have a chance to say goodbye.
Wow, that's
something I don't put in my book.
No. And that's terrifying. That feels heartbreaking. So, well, thank you for sharing that, for one. But yeah, that's. uncomfortable to sit with, but I'm 10 times worse for yourself to
Well,
look
I
back
do
on that
think
memory.
it kind of explains why it set Caden up for his road the way it was. Like the way he was handled was wrong.
Yeah. And you say going deeper into the journey, understanding everything that had been going on within the family would have potentially prepared them if
yeah, it would have potentially prepared them for that. And then also if the local authority had handled the way they collected the children, would have been, I mean, the other three were slightly older, so they were sad and upset, but they went willingly because they had to. He was not like that, so it instantly just set his road up to fail.
Yeah. It sounds like there needs to be some significant change in the way that that's kind of managed again.
And that's why I'm trying to do what I do.
Absolutely. So
if I can help one family not go through what when we went through, then I can sleep better at night.
Well, one of the things that you've said is that hope never fades. How did you hold on to that through your journey when the system, seems like it was a little bit stacked against you?
Just not giving up. I think waking up there, and no matter how many knockdowns and knockbacks we had, we always had the hope and the projection that we were getting our kids back, no matter what. Like it's not unheard of. It's rare. But it's a possibility, and holding on to that hope. I mean, there was knockbacks all the way through, but gradually, as the weeks turned into months, the months turned into years, and then the years turned into extended years, we were gaining more and more trust and doing more and more. So that's like the hope just pulls you all the way through it. Because if we don't have hope, we've got nothing, and we wouldn't have our children now, because we would have given up. I see stories sometimes of some parents that I'm not going to say given up because it's the wrong word. They don't know what to do. Like they're supposed to be like post-court proceedings help. But the day our children were removed from our house, we never had a social worker call us unless it was about contact, and we definitely didn't have one come knocking on the door until it was being talked about. One of the older ones coming to do home visits, and that was 6 years later. So there was no care for us as parents. They'd just taken our children away. There was no aftercare. There was no we weren't offered counselling, and that's not just us. That's something I know that happens to every parent out there. It's almost like you're going through all this thing with court, and you're going through proceedings. Your children are removed, and then they've got the children. You just disappear into the darkness and you're left to fall into a cave. That's where the most crucial part is. And this is where you can bring families back together. Luckily, we had just enough strength in ourselves to be able to pick ourselves up. But there's people out there that would have had other journeys and different life experiences that wouldn't have that hope. They've just had that ripped away from them. And without having anybody actually to come and knock on their door 2 weeks later, I mean, I get from a local authority's point of view, safeguarding, or they couldn't send somebody around someone's house on their own after taking their children away. Social workers are at risk. They always are. I've read stories, I've seen statistics, I know they're not safe all the time. So I get that. But there's ways of doing it, even by a phone call. Not one person phoned us and asked if we was okay. We felt like we couldn't ask for that kind of help because you feel like you don't deserve that kind of help. You don't get carousels and we're thinking of you things. And we'd already lost a child through cot death. And now we're feeling like we're grieving for all of them again. Although they're still here on the earth, you're living another grief out again. Nobody's there to pick the pieces up. I think if it gets to a point where you have to remove children from a family and there's no other option, there should be something in the background to help work on them. It was even written into our judgment that we were supposed to be assessed 12 to 24 months afterwards. 7 years later, that happened. And still to this day, I ask why, and I've never got an answer.
That's terrible. There is such a a complaint of how much the care system is costing society as far as how many children in care and stuff like that. It sounds like, well, there's a little bit of an insight into why that straight away families are being given up on. Because that's it, right? You feel children have been removed, so good luck. Off you go, sort yourselves out.
They probably saved them a lot of money if they'd have actually removed our children and then put us through whatever we needed to go through and then returned them.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had phone calls before, obviously, within the training company. We often get parents just calling up going, we've been told to go on behaviour management courses and parenting courses, but where do we go? What do we do? And we're like, social workers in local authority giving you all of that and providing that? Because it just seems like, well, surely if you want parents to be parents, then they may need some support. They may not know how to parent. I know some may not be accepting of it, even if it's offered, but at least having it offered.
That's the point, and this is what I was trying to say. And I've said this to loads of local authority people I've worked for, and I'm saying to them, I'm under no illusion that there's children out there that are better off within the system. The thing that baffles me is, why is it not at least offered? If you offer somebody that support, offer them the right programs, and they're willing to do it, then they should be all for that. If they're willing to do it and they still fail because they haven't, then you've tried. You've done everything you can that a local authority can do to try and keep a family connected and stay together.
So is this what you're trying to do now? This is your new almost purpose in life, I suppose, is I don't want anybody else struggling alone like we did. So as far as your advocacy work and things like that, is it through the book? Is it through speaking? Or what else do you do? And what else is available for parents out there?
There isn't really a lot available for parents out there at the moment. And this is what I'm trying to change. I'd like more of the local authorities, like in geographical areas, to have parental advocacy sectors. We actually haven't got one where I am in East Sussex, but there is one in Camden that works really well. They have a whole thing for parents, and it's like a first steps type of thing. So when you've got families that are struggling, the last people they want to deal with is a social worker. So obviously they have to go in first, but then you'd have what you would call like a first steps, where someone like myself would go in, and if necessary, you can give them the blunt, cold, hard truth. And explain the severity of it and what happens. Offer your help, offer support. The advocacy work I've done is kind of like through, mainly through universities to young social work students through the local authority. I have my own personal circle that I've been helping out myself. I've actually just helped a father out. And he's got both of his children with him, so I've been giving him a lot of advice and everything, because that was getting. I'm not going to, because it's his thing to deal with, but ultimately with the support and the right guidance and background and openness, he's got his children with him full time now. I've helped someone else, funny enough, that I met years ago only through my gaming platform. But I've known him for 10 years, and he was struggling. Like he was in and out of court with his two girls. They was unsafe. There was stuff going on, and just by me advocating with him and saying, "Don't go and say that, because that's going to look. Well, this is how you need to be." And he's got both of his girls with him now. So like things like that help me sleep better at night, because I know there's a place for it. But trying to prove that and again, what you said, it comes down to money. It's funding. They haven't got the funding for it. A lot of local authorities don't want to almost put faith in someone like me that's been a service user, rather than someone that can be a change maker in the service or actually be the difference. And I get that, and I understand it, because it's not something that should be looked at lightly. Effectively what we're asking for is, I'm basically saying, you need to open up a whole division, which is parent-led and parent-run, with no qualifications, no nothing else, just experience. And that's quite difficult for some people. And what I've discovered, the people on the ground are the same. It's when it goes up the chain.
Yeah, the people who are a little bit removed from reality in some ways.
Which is fine, because they've learned this is what I call running by textbook, and that's the way they've learned. And that's also totally fine. They wouldn't be sitting where they were if they wasn't capable of doing it. But what it says in that book and what you will actually practice or do in the real world are two different things.
I think sometimes it does come down to the fact that it's perceived almost it's the budget is measured like accountants. It's all about the bottom line, and they don't see where they could save money by actually investing in further up the bridge. As following your analogy from earlier, if we put more funding into preventing the fires from happening, you wouldn't spend as much as you are on fire extinguishers. Yeah, and I think but there doesn't seem to be. That's a systemic change, a cultural kind of problem that seems to be in all sectors, health and social care.
I've been scratching my head at for ages because I can't understand why the local authority as a whole, countrywide, they are disconnected because they have different areas. But why have some got this in place? And why haven't some? There's facts, and you can't argue with facts, and you can't argue with statistics. And like, I'm going to use Camden again as an example. They use parent advocacy, and there's been a decrease, and there's more help. So, like, if it works, then why not spread it everywhere?
Yeah, we've actually done some training for them, as far as coaching parents, behaviour management stuff and stuff like that for the parents that they organised. So, yeah, that's a great example.
Well, you're part of that statistic.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And the feedback was fantastic. Like, yes, parents going, I didn't know this stuff. Well, I should have known this stuff. And, yeah, it's a shame. So let's bring it back to an element following the string of hope, because obviously, there's a lot of challenges, a lot of problems. You've had to go through a horrific journey, you and all of your family to some degree, although there is some real positives for, the children, I believe, like, are all thriving and doing a lot better. But obviously the reunification was one thing that you speak about most fondly in the book. And it just takes you on the journey through that book to this uplift at the end of the acceptance of where all your children are and the fact that you are all reunified, even if living with elsewhere and stuff like that because of circumstances and stuff. But so what did that feel like as far as not legally, but emotionally and personally?
It's empowering, and you feel like you're winning in life. What you've done is you've taken the situation that's completely burnt your family to ashes and turned it into nothing but a dusty mess. And we've built something that's even stronger out of it. And that I can thank the system for. Because if we didn't go through that journey, we wouldn't be the way we are now. Even the children, if they've got a problem, they talk to us. There's no hidden emotions, there's no hidden agendas. Everything's just natural, and having that being reunified like that in the way it was done as well. I'm trying to find a word for it. Like it's emotionally comforting and warming, and definitely the biggest win that we've had. Well, win that I've had personally in life. And going through the journey of change that I went through helped being where we are now and where I am now, and the job I'm in now. It's helped out in so many, not just like for the children, but in life in general. I've gone through promotion after promotion at work, and that's just by watching people lead or fail to lead, and then use that as an example to move on, and then also use that as an example at home as well.
So do you mind sort of saying, so where are all your children now in life, in the world? Yeah, where are they in their lives at the moment?
So Summer and Caden are back at home. Caden come home first. He was an emotional wreck, really, when he first come home. He's been at the same school for 2.5 years now, and he's only just started settling down. But even he's regulated. He can talk to us. He's not afraid of big emotions anymore. Still has meltdowns, but not really at home, mainly at school. And I think that's because he's never had stability at school, but he's starting to get there. The teachers are brilliant, and they're working with us and them and the local authority. So if he has meltdown at school, that's great. Summer is absolutely thriving since she's come home. She was very socially disconnected, and that's mainly not because it's been forced, that's more safeguarding things. As she was growing up, like where she was living wasn't that far away from Blue Water. Before she come home, all her friends would go shopping and things, but because of safeguarding things, she wasn't never allowed to go out with her friends and things like that. Now she's got that social life, and her grades have improved. She's just chosen her options, her GCSEs, and she's happy. She'd only been at the school for a year, and she's got student of the year. So she got student of the year, student of the month. She's constantly getting achievements, which we've never really seen much of before. She still lives with her foster carers. She lives in Brighton, which it was a mutual agreement, and that was nothing to do with the local authority. That was myself, my partner, and the 2 foster carers. So, and that was difficult for me and Lisa to have this discussion with Sky because of her age. She was just about to go into college. So me and my partner sat down with the foster carers. By this time, we were sharing the same table around the house, having coffees and teas. And we went round there without her knowing and had a conversation, and we come to agreement. We kind of said, look, we'd rather her stay with you. Like, she needs to know that she's got 2 families, that the doors are open, there's nothing in between, there's no restrictions, but the part of her life at the moment is one of the most important, crucial parts of her life. It would be, as hard as it is and heartbreaking for me and my partner, we would have been so wrong, every bone in our body wanting to pack her bags and bring her home. But that would have been the wrong move to make, because that point in her life, she was about to move into college, go and do her education. What we would have done was completely destroyed that for her, because she would have had to move location, make new friends, study as well in the same time. So but that works out really well for Sky. She's working at the moment in a gap year. Like, she comes and goes, she pleases. And Leighton turned 18 right in the middle of I'm going to call it the reunification debate. On Leighton's 18th birthday, I got a phone call saying, come pick me up, his bags were packed. He made that choice himself. And he made it clear all the way through that that's what he was going to do, and that's what he did do. He also made it clear to his foster carers that this doesn't mean that I'm not grateful and I don't care about you. I want to go home. And he's still got a key to the house to this day, and he's 21. But he was only here for a year, and then he met his girlfriend and moved in together. How life is.
Yeah, but absolutely.
He works alongside me on the railway. So he's the team leader in Charing Cross train station, and he was the youngest person I think, to make supervisor at 20. So
yeah, that's awesome.
They're all thriving now. So
yeah, that sounds really good, and that must make you so pleased as a parent, and maybe it becomes
a little
proud. Absolutely, yeah, proud as a parent, and I don't know, that maybe
I feel guilty sometimes. Though I can't lie. I mean, I had Sky messaged me only a couple of weeks ago. It was after our event. I sent her some shorts, and she said to me, "I'm so proud of you, Dad." And do you know what? It's the most loveliest feeling. But I said to her, I feel guilty that she feels proud of me, because we hold some accountability for the position they was in the first place. And I was sitting there thinking, and what that does, it shows what hope and what love does. Because even though the children were put in that position, and we haven't hid from them where we went wrong, that was part of something we wanted to do, and that was give them honesty and transparency. And we did do. And that just goes to prove it. But every time they say to me, I'm proud of you, I'm really happy, but there's this tiny smidgen of guilt in there as well.
Yeah, that's very understandable, and that's, yeah. Thank you for your honesty on that. I think I understand that. But again, that's because we all hold ourselves to these extreme expectations that we're kind of like, oh, well, parenting is just a natural thing, and you should be brilliant at it for the whole time that you're going to be a parent and stuff like that. And it's just so much nonsense. And I think there's so many parents out there that, you know, even if they've not reached that point of struggling. To the point that you got to, but maybe finding it hard and actually just going, hey, we've all could look back and go, I could have been a better parent at times. But
we all make mistakes.
Absolutely. And I think actually allowing that to be being open with that with your children, going, hey, yeah, I messed up a few times. I was human. And actually kids recognizing their parents as human sometimes is a difficult journey for kids to do, but actually it's really important for them
it paves their futures as well, because we've been honest with them, they're honest with us. Like, depending what the scenario is, they'll always come to us. And luckily for us, they've got two sets of parents, because Sky's a perfect example. She'll come to me and Lisa for stuff, but she'll also go to foster carers for other stuff. And then knowing that we all talk, so it's not like she's doing it out of
playing a game.
No, she's not playing a game. If she's got something that she wants to tell me or mum, but she doesn't know how, she'll tell the foster parents, because they will tell us.
Yeah.
And then we'll sit her down and say, we'll laugh with her about it, and then it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's great to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost, they've got their own advocate. It's a bit, and it's no different, I suppose, to like an auntie or a grandparent or something like that, isn't it? It's just an extended version of your family, which is fantastic. Well, I want to, as we draw it to a close, it's been genuinely an emotional conversation, I'd say, at points for myself. What messages, we've kind of already covered this a little bit, but I'd love to just repeat it again. What message would you give to parents right now who are maybe scared, stuck, and feel like reunification is out of reach?
I would tell them to not give up. There's always hope. Fight for your children. You may feel like you're fighting a lost battle, but the fight is far from over. There are people that are out there to help. There are people that are going through what you went through, because I thought that I was going through it alone. And just reach out. Try and put your fears and hopes, fears behind you, and go forward with hope. And don't be afraid to speak your mind to the local authorities if you think something's not right or something could be done differently. I would say it, but in the right way. Say it in a way that you're going to be listened to. So don't be angry. If you're going to be angry at home. That's what I did. Like, just begin your journey. Don't give up. Begin confused. It's fine. It's not an easy road. Just don't give up. And there are people out there to help.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lee. So where can people find and get your book, or is it still in the process of becoming more available?
It's still in the process of becoming more available. I do have copies, and I did make a website, and I haven't released it because, to be honest, it looks like a bit of a website that you come from a scam person. It's a free website on Canva, but it's something that I've used to people that know me personally. If they want to grab a copy, so they can do that. But I have purchased ISBNs. I have got 2 of them. Speaking to the printer yesterday, he's going to be in the middle of printing them. As soon as I've got them back, I will be registering it with Nielsen Books. I think it's Nielsen Book Company, sending a copy to both libraries, because you have to. And then I'm going to try and discover the world of how to publish a paperback. I have no idea. I'm out of my depth with it. But there will be an ebook going onto Amazon that I have, that I've got the PDF file for that. So that will be going onto there soon. As soon as I will personally update you on that.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much. It was a genuinely wonderful conversation, Lee.
Thank you, Andy.
So for anybody out there who's found the conversation that we've just had useful, interesting, meaningful, then please like, comment and share. And definitely anybody that you know out there who may be going through challenges, struggles and needs to hear this, but also foster parents and social workers as well. Please pass this on and share as well. Otherwise, see you next time.